You're listening to the program You and I on PSA, exclusively on the Street 91.1, no, 91.9 FM, hosted by the Public Services Association. Here with me today is our Deputy General Secretary, Comrade
Shalene Suchat Dwarka.
And we are expecting our first Vice President, Comrade Christopher Jofield, to be in shortly.
And Comrade, we have to mention DJ Bruce Wayne, who has been assisting us without honorable mention for the last few days.
We do apologize for that oversight. Yes, folks, this program is geared towards highlighting the concerns of public officers and the restoration of the respect and status of the public service, to halt, reverse the systematic dismantling of the public service currently taking place.
It is an interactive program, and we would invite you all to call in and contribute to the discussion using the following telephone numbers: 622-9154, 622-3303, and in Tobago 631-0219 or 639-0791.
Yes, folks, we're here again, trying our best to correct that public perception out there that the workers who come to work on a daily basis in the civil service and the wider public service, to try to keep the policies and of the central government running. There's a perception out there that these workers don't work, and they're not worth the monies they're being paid. And we, as their representatives, actually know that there are a lot of issues that are
hidden from the public, the underlying causes
damaging to these
this
workers image, and causing the problems that you see every day, and eventually passes down to the actual public itself in the delivery of these services. We here going to highlight some of these issues in this program, so that at least the public will understand that it's not just the workers' fault.
Of course, it comes from the top, and it permeates the system. And the public servants really Trinidad and Tobago, they have no control over these policies. The set directorate has set. The thing about it is, Comrade, in as much as we want the public to be sympathetic and to the plight of the public servants, we want the public servants themselves to become empowered at the end of the day. We want to educate them of their rights and their responsibilities, but to engender that sense of ownership of rights. Because over the years, they have been beaten down into submission. Accept these horrible conditions. Accept being underpaid. And I think we have a low morale, a low self-esteem problem in the public service now, because now the workers themselves are saying, let us not try to get what we are worth. Let us not try to better ourselves, because this is all people are saying we are worth, and it's causing a mental breakdown.
Yes, when someone bashes you're working for a people, which is the public of Trinidad and Tobago, and you're being beat down every day by these people and the employers and the persons in government, right? After a while, you mentally, you just want to throw your hands in the air.
Someone had sent us a note saying that public servants have Stockholm syndrome. But Trinidad and Tobago, we have received several questions through our social media. Our public Services Association Facebook page, PSA Trinbago. And over the course of today's program, we'd probably want to touch on a couple of those questions. One of the burning questions was concerning the M&M insurance plan, and I think Comrade Ian is the best person to answer some of these questions.
Yeah, we've been having a lot of issues with that particular M&M plan. This is a plan that was supposed to ease the burden of healthcare for public officers. It is a term and condition of the civil service civil servants. It's part of their terms and conditions, and it's a compulsory plan, right? The government supposed to pay 60% of the premium, while the worker pay 40%. As we all know, in Trinidad and Tobago, the price of healthcare inflation is one that keeps rising, right? What has happened is currently in the market, every 2 years, this is what we are being told by the provider, every 2 years you have to reassess the healthcare inflation. And our plan has reached a point where it is in deficit. But since 2015, the two unions, the PSA and the tutor it is, because teachers and the public service are linked together in this particular health plan, both unions have agreed to the raising of the premium. But for some reason, the government isn't coming up with their side of the premium. So we're there negotiating with them.
And the plan, Comrade, has to be in deficit, because the public service is being depleted of its human capital. Persons are either dying out of the service, retiring out of the service, or naturally exiting the service because the compensation package, as we know, is so terrible. So there's this contraction of the public service. The vacancies are not being filled. And that is probably primarily why the plan is also being in deficit as well.
Yes, it is. As we know, right, a health plan depends on a type of balance between young people and old people, right? The young ones tend to claim less on a health plan, right? And the older ones who may be ailing tend to make more claims.
Well, the public servants work in such deplorable conditions. The young ones starting to probably draw into that plan.
But the problem is now that because the service commissions are not carrying out, I would say, one of the constitutional mandates, which is to fill the vacancies in the public service. What we have now, right, is an aging public service, right? So the members that have remained in the plan now is 40 and above, and they are making a lot more claims, a lot more pressure is being placed on the plan, right, to keep up with what's taking place.
I know what is sad. The compulsory age of retirement is 60. So this ailing population that will exit the service at 60 would have nothing to go to, because the plan ends with the retirement for them.
Yeah, but we need the government to do what it has to do to inject its portion of the money it's supposed to inject into the plan, because at the end of the day, persons are contributing to the plan, they are making their claims, and in some cases, almost a whole year is passed, and persons are not receiving their monies for claims they would have made.
Maybe we could invite some calls from persons who have been affected by the M&M insurance plan's deficit. and tell us how it's affecting you, and let Trinidad and Tobago know what these feeling systems, the effect of these feeling systems are having on you, Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes, and we encourage folks to call in again. The numbers are 622-9154, 622-3303, 631-0219, and 639-0791. You have a call on the line?
Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
I have spent more than half my life in the public service, and I strongly suggest that the best way to fix some of these ills is buy a giant-sized mirror and look in it frequently. You know? Public officers need to look frequently in the mirror. I find them to be so bold-faced and shameless.
Bold-faced to stand up for their rights, bold-faced to demand better working conditions, bold-faced to be paid in the market rate, the value for their work. Bold-faced how? I'm not understanding that one, comrade.
And that's that's what this program is geared at, trying to correct that perception out there. There's a reason why any human being would get frustrated sometimes, right? And when the odds are stacked against you, you tend to rebel. But as we said, we're trying to deal with the issues that public officers are having with the M&M program, and probably if public officers would call in and let the government realize how frustrated you are about this situation, because some people tend to think it's the PSA, right? That is causing them not to get their claims. The PSA is not an insurance company, right? And
we facilitate.
That's all.
We facilitate.
We collect the claims, whether you are a member or not. We facilitate the collection of claims
and the disbursement of the checks.
And the disbursement of the checks.
That's all.
We have a caller on the line. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yeah, you wanted to dialogue about why I said boldface?
Yes, I was asking why.
For more than half my life in the public service, and they do not produce. A lot of them do not produce. They come late. They're always absent. They look for every excuse to go out there and protest. Oh, it's horrible. I was at management level, and if we had a proper evaluation system in place, a lot of them.
And who's responsible for the implementation of this evaluation?
They don't
process?
want it. The union resist it.
No,
if you had a proper evaluation system in place, performance appraisal, a lot of them would be sent home.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Right, and I'm glad she raised the issue, because she said she was on management. Now, I know in the public service, you just come in at management level. Although in some instances, we have a lot of people entering at range 46 now since they introduced these
the
HR units,
to those levels.
right? We do have a performance appraisal system in place, right? But the managers like yourself, right, especially in the HR units that came in and were supposed to deal with the issues, right, in the public service, they're not pulling their weight at all. They're supposed to do quarterlies with the staff. They're supposed to point out all the different weaknesses, strengths, set performance targets. None of this is being done quarterly. There's no conversation with the employee, right? And then
a lot of employees come
in
and they are put into positions or move from schedule to schedule, desk to desk, without a proper handover, without any training, and they're expected to jump in and function, and that is where a lot of the problems are coming in.
That has to do with the short staff in the service, right? But these middle managers and these persons in authority who's supposed to be treating with the performance appraisal system, they're not implementing it, right? And we while you may want to blame the lower level staff, it has nothing to do with them, right?
But we're speaking of the M&M health plan. And I just wanted to touch on the situation because I have a message coming in here from someone at the Immigration Division. And they're saying that the M&M plan also needs a little bit of work to cover the hazards of the job that some of the public officers face, like in Customs and Excise Division and in Immigration Division, where they face more than just the generic ills that may happen to the regular desk worker. And I think we have to take that into consideration as well, and maybe raise it at the next meeting that we have with the plan holders to see what can be done. But again, it's not just the union that must be raising this. It's the owner. The onus must also be on the employer. The employer has put you in these dangerous positions, in these dangerous situations, and they must consider what needs to go to accompany that circumstance. We have another caller. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Hi. I like your conversation. I can't relate more to your plan because I know it was very depending on department. But I want the lady who called and talk about looking in the mirror and so on, and you all are correct. The question is, the West Indies cricket team, you don't drop the players, you drop the managers or the coach and so on. Because in the public service, one of the problems, and I heard Jennifer Batiste when she was union president, she made that claim that supervisors, head of department, have to get down and ensure that the public servants, those on the subordinate level, do their job effectively. Correct. Because there are areas of concern for a lot of people who have to wait years for let's say, monies and back pay and that type of thing. And it's an indictment on supervisors because they leave it there, they don't check drawers, there's not that individual degree of supervision. Yeah. Now, before I go, the union itself, I know they have their responsibility, but to make the union more effective and more to observe what the unions do, you need an effective public service where things could be updated, on time, and then the union would really join it. So now, for the unions to make recommendations, it's very, very tough. Unions have their job to do, but you control them, so to speak, by you being effective in that service-oriented place, like the public service. Have a good morning.
And thank you for your contribution. It's very difficult to work with the employer in this situation when they're not willing to meet and to consult on these basic issues. Comrade, we have been clamoring, we have been writing, we have been calling for meetings, and the meetings are not forthcoming.
As a matter of fact, there was a whole staff report system. Persons who would have been in the public service very long would have known there was just this little one-page document, a back and a front, where you just keep ticking boxes, right? Box 1, box 2, box 3, box 4, as the case may be. And that was it at the end of the day. And the union, right, got together with the employer, and we came up with this. I believe it's about 9 pages. It's a full document.
A comprehensive
staff appraisal. But,
and there's a workbook and a guide, and there was training design mapped out around it.
Yeah. Performance management. And what has happened is that the managers, as you say, right, fail to actually implement that system properly. Apparently, they're on top, they're blaming the subordinates, but they find it too hard just to complete a performance appraisal and have discussions on a quarterly basis with the subordinate and so set these performance standards and so on. If I talk to you let's say in January about your late coming, and I talk to you in March, I talk to you again in July, August, and in September about late coming, and you make no improvement at all. At the end of the day, when I make that
final
document, that final assessment on your staff report, you can't argue with it because I'd have conversations with you for 3 quarters, right?
That's right.
And you did not improve, right? But when you don't speak to the employee at all about late coming for the entire year, and then at the end of the year you want to tell the person you're a late comer, something had to be wrong with that. Right. The performance management system is a system that was supposed to be used as a developmental tool, right? And what we have is persons trying to use the performance appraisal as a disciplinary tool, and that's where the problem is. We take a little break now, and we'll come back.
Come back with more of this resistance.
But staying home won't make it right. Sometimes the pressure make me feel like order. When every sign says no way out. Breaking my back to make an overtime dollar. That just goes from hand to mouth. Still I'm putting up a resistance. I'm gonna work it out. No, I'm putting up a resistance. I've got to work it out. Lord, I'm putting up resistance. I'm gonna work it out. No, I'm putting up resistance. I'm gonna work it out, Lord. Got to fight it.
Good, and we are back. And I have to apologize. This is the first Vice President, Christopher Joe Field. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. Good morning to our members, and good morning to the team. I want to thank you all for taking the baton and rolling with it as we go. I was coming down in the vehicle, and I want to take it from where I heard the conversation that we should use the mirror. But I think that management in any organization, and the gentleman alluded to it just now, he said he had to change the management of the cricket team because they are charged with a responsibility that is aimed at bringing out the best in your players. They are charged with the responsibility of bringing out the best in the public servants, public officers, and to shift the blame and say that if you, whatever it was, you would want to get rid of them and they only want this and they want that and they want the other, is to not accept that as managers, you have to ensure that some of those responsibilities that the employees or the public servants are supposed to fulfill, that they fulfill them. And there is nothing new in the system except contract work that needs to be done to make this thing work, Nothing new, because the regulations are clear and it covers all the areas. When it comes to issues of late coming and having problems with performance and these things, they are covered. And the public service would have signed, the CPO would have signed with the association a performance management system that is what you would call up to date. And if it is those HR managers were to follow the thing in the right way and ensure that they do the assessments on time, they could bring to the attention of the public officer what are your weaknesses with a view to changing it. So quality public service delivery and performance will be the order of the day.
Comrade.
So don't come and tell us, get rid of them just like that. We have done what we need to do. And if the public officer is complaining and is demoralized because his pay is low, that his working conditions are bad, that the salary that the position that he's operating in has changed because of organization and the country's needs, and therefore the classification of those jobs needed to be done, which is the responsibility of the CPO. If they have failed in their duty, don't blame the ordinary public officer for feeling demoralized.
Yeah, and I could tell you that it have public officers out there, and there's all your program, and that's why we need all to call in, that haven't received a performance appraisal in some instances in 5 years, right? They're just not doing the appraisals at all.
Comrade, a member came to me, today's the 13th, The woman is working in the Ministry of Health. The woman said that they haven't done her performance appraisal since 2011. Her supervisor has been derelict in her duty in performing the employee's performance appraisal, and therefore she is retiring today and not have her increments up to date because of some slacker that they have who had that responsibility. And the person was a telephone operator, receptionist. So don't feel for 1 minute that she could have gone and done her own assessment. She has a supervisor.
Well, I'm glad you bring that too, because what I understand is happening in the civil service at the middle management level and certain high positions in the public service is that the officers are asked to do their own appraisal. You understand? And people just rubber stamping them and signing them.
And you know why? Because it appears to be a certain amount, a certain degree of brainlessness or laziness taking place at the levels of the HR departments, where these supervisors do not want to follow the procedure in performing the assessments.
Well, I have news for you, right? The ultimate responsibility, again, lies with the permanent secretaries.
The permanent,
right? That HR function, the ultimate responsibility in the ministries lies with the permanent secretary. The buck stops there.
And
right?
It hurts me to see how PSs seem to be operating in a manner, but I will get back to you. We have a caller on the line. Caller, good morning.
Right, good morning. I've been listening to the program, right?
Yes, good morning.
I could talk on this because this happened to me. Concerning the performance appraisal. A person who would come to work on time, do their work, well, when I say on time, I mean 8 to 4:15, do their work, do everything.
Yes.
But if your person who is supposed to do your performance appraisal has something personal against you, they would be so cruel when they're doing that. At least they tried to do it to me.
Yes.
I had to play mad and tell them, hell no, I ain't signing that. And
Yes.
this is really in thing. My AO5
Yes.
had to step in and say, no.
And
This is unfair, and it's all because I didn't used to go and sit and gossip and all those things.
I know.
That other people who would be coming to work late, leaving early, all sorts of stuff. And bearing in mind, the year before that, I got an excellent performance appraisal. And by the following year, you want to just give me a plain good because I decided not to gossip. I had to play mad. And my AO5 had to step in and stand by me to get that rectified.
Thank you, ma'am. Now, the people she talking about, these people in these higher positions that perpetrating that type of wickedness on these subordinates, right? They have no right to reach where they reach, but because somebody wasn't doing their performance appraisal, right? You understand? We end up with a set of square pegs and wrong holes on top there.
The public service is dysfunctional now because certain people fell asleep on the job. All right? The performance appraisal system has been re-engineered to get rid of all the subjectivity that you, the caller, has been exposed to and was being subjected to. But we have another caller. Caller, good morning. Caller, good morning. All right. And if they were to follow the guidelines of the performance management, the performance assessment system that we have in place, you would find that it would get rid of all that subjectivity, that if you're not sitting down and gabbing with your fellow sisters, not that is a gender bias here, you would get rid, or you would find yourself having much more objective appraisals being done, and when a person gets a performance report done and they get the increment, it will be one that is well deserved. It will also point out whether or not the person is entitled to the increment, and if the person is not entitled to the increment according to the same system, there is room for appeal. But don't label public officers as bad when we believe that there are a bunch of people who do all their studying is work and not more money and all of that kind of thing. Caller, good morning and welcome.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning to the panel. My question this morning is, what is this situation with the worker that doesn't get the opportunity to elevate themselves position-wise because they have now made some of these positions redundant, and you are not able to go to the next level, so that when time for retirement, you could retire with at least more benefits.
But
I love that.
It's not redundant. Redundant is not the word, you know. When they make a job redundant, everybody know the positions are being suppressed.
Yeah, but I think the caller is...
Well, I could explain further.
Yeah.
They are no longer Cook 2 positions.
Yes.
So we have to remain in Cook 1 positions until retirement.
Mm-hmm.
What are our situation here now? Is there any guarantee that if you stay in that position for X amount of years, you will automatically retire in the Cook 2 position, or you will just have to go home with the Cook 1 position because there's no more Cook 2 positions available because they have closed that off?
No.
Well, to the best of our knowledge, there exist Cook 2 positions. What is happening is those sinister leaders we have, the managers, are suppressing it and giving you people misinformation. But you simply need to come into the PSA, let us challenge it, because we are supposed to be aware of what the structure looks like in any given department, division within the public service, so that you can be assisted in that regard.
Yeah, clearly, if you have Cook 1s, who will supervise all the Cook 1s? It's supposed to be a Cook 2.
The fact of the matter is that there is and it leads back to us making this assessment that the conspiracy is to dismantle the public service and to make public officers feel as though they are not needed, and to have this whole machinery that serves the citizenry of this country operate by VAPs, by VOOPs, by a kind of impulse and ad hoc arrangements that will suit the interest of whether it is internal or external stakeholders who are driving this thing. But we are saying we are putting up a resistance.
Still I'm putting up a resistance. I'm gonna work it out. You know I'm putting up a resistance. I'm gonna work it out. I'm putting up a resistance. I'm gonna work it out. You know I'm putting up a resistance. Got to work it out. You know I'm putting up resistance. Putting up some fight. Got to fight. Putting up resistance. I'm gonna work it out back now. Putting up some resistance now.
So, comrades, what we are saying is that the weaknesses in the system needs to be looked at, and we are looking at it from the level of, from as far back as, or as should I say, from as far up as the service commissions, the HR departments, the permanent secretaries and heads of divisions, the ombudsman, that pristine office appointed by the president, who has the responsibility to make sure that the administrative systems in the public service run according true to form, that office, that ombudsman drive the system correctly. If it is you have a 71-year-old who appears to be outside of her range and she's incapable, change the position, change the incumbent, because it is affecting organizational efficiency in the system. We also talked about, and I would let our Deputy General Secretary to help me there. I left my glasses at home. Continue with the listing for me.
And we have touched on so far, comrade, on the pension issue, the issue of pensions, the late payment of pensions to the public officers who have already
The Comptroller of Customs need to be more sensitive. Sorry, the Comptroller of Accounts, my mistake, please forgive me. The Comptroller of Accounts needs to be more sensitive to the issues facing retired public officers. Let us be able to give these people the pension as in accordance with the Act, whereby when they leave the service, 1 month's salary, they must move into the drawing of their pensions so that they don't have any interruption in their remuneration, because these people have served. The Act makes allowance for that. Either stock the place properly in terms of manpower, or give the people the proper training, motivate those public officers so that they will have a little more care for their internal customers.
And in the case of judiciary, you don't need to have a contract worker doing those sorts of duties. Those are because the contract workers may not have the sympathy and the empathy for the retired public officer.
Exactly.
But I want to say something about that. We have a serious problem with that pension and leave business in the public service now, you know. Apparently nobody is left in the service who could do pension and leave, so we are bringing back in some ministries, we have whole units of retired public officers coming back to do P&L.
Something is wrong.
No succession planning at all.
What are they doing up there? What are they doing? What are the planners? Those persons with the responsibility for ensuring that succession planning is done in the public service. What are they doing?
Yeah, the managers and them who want you to look in the mirror.
What are they doing? And who is holding them accountable? But who has that responsibility? It is the permanent secretary. And that is at the operational level. But at the level of the service commissions, get up and do your job. The service commissions, the CPO, let us build out the thing in such a way.
Have a strategic plan.
Where are we going? The dysfunctionality in the public service falls squarely on the shoulders of the service commission, and nobody else to blame but the CPO and these other departments.
Who are condoning things like locking out public servants from their job. PSs are locking out people.
I don't know
from
where PSs get to this place where they could lock out public officers, you know. The thing has turned.
I tell you, I told you, we had an assessment with over 100 people from the public service trying to become deputy permanent secretaries. And my information is, after the assessment was done and the smoke clear, only 16 people passed.
The thing is being corrupted.
But what is happening is that all these other people who fail the exam, they're still acting deputy PS and in some instances PS in these ministries, you know. So hence the reason why you're having all this rubbish. What happened to these 16 people who pass? Put them in the place.
Look at the revenue officers and Board of Inland Revenue. They had these people operating there, functioning there, acting positions as revenue officers.
Use them.
You say use. Some of them were acting there for as much as 15 years. I tell you, acting, you know, for as much as 15 years. And then one day, some joker at the top, where the Service Commission woke up one morning and decided that they are going to revert all these officers back to their substantive positions. What is going on in this country? What is going on in this public service? How can public officers continue to serve and perform their duties as though they are automatons, and they have no feelings, they have no consideration for the service that they would have put in acting capacities in this country to make sure that the revenue needed to drive the policies that the administration, successive administrations come up with are achieved and achieved.
You said it before, comrade. Reckless management. Reckless.
The thing is, nobody seems to be called to account. The chairman of the commission, the chairman of the board of Inland Revenue, passes the buck down to the HR department. HR says it is the Service Commission, and the Service Commission sits there quietly, invisible to all of this, even though they would have devolved the responsibilities and authority to these divisions such as the BIR.
And when we point it out, no one is willing to meet and treat with these issues. That is the sad part about it, It exists, it's happening. We are aware of it. We are making you aware of it, because for some reason you're still not aware of it, management. And when we make you aware of it, you're still not willing to meet and treat, so you don't want to fix the problem.
But I tell you, everybody does be saying that they don't have responsibility for that, and I don't have responsibility for this. And in the end, the public officer continues to be aggrieved and is expected to perform as though everything is hunky-dory, nice and sweet.
I think the real problem lies with there being no prescribed way to appraise a permanent secretary, right? There has to be some role, some sort of supervisory role, I believe, by the head of the public service, right? Who's supposed to be the most senior permanent secretary,
yes.
as well as the
who operates in the Prime Minister's office.
Yeah, but the Service Commission, they have to put up some sort of mechanism to appraise permanent secretaries, because things as fish as rotten out of the head,
The complaints are no longer letter size, it's epistle size.
Yes,
that it?
yes. And you all expect that public officers will continue to perform their duties, not be appraised, not receive their increment, not qualify for promotion, not be considered when a promotion after acting for so long. Imagine that they send you they give you an appointment to act and telling you this is not a prelude to acting. So don't raise your expectations. Act in this position, take on these responsibilities, exercise this authority, and hold on to it for as much as 15, 20 years. And when you are finished, we realize now that we don't have any more need for you. We put you back as a clerk or one of these low-level positions that you would have found acted from, have as your substantive in the public service.
But comrades, that is one thing. But I want to bring to the public's attention the job enlargement, the deviation from job descriptions that takes place even in national security, in the immigration division. The creation of units every Monday morning. There's a new unit, and the officers are expected to perform in these units. There's no consultation with the association.
Yes.
The job descriptions have not been fundamentally altered, legally altered, and yet officers have to suffer in silence.
Yes.
Sit with an injunction over your head and say nothing.
622-9154, 622-3303, 631-0219, or 639-0791.
We'll be back tomorrow morning, and we will take the focus elsewhere. We will take the focus elsewhere. I will not give you that heads up right now. You tune in tomorrow morning, 8 to 9. This is You and I on PSA. And we say we are putting up a resistance.
Got to work it out, you know putting up resistance, putting up some fight, got to fight, putting up resistance. I'm gonna work it out back now, putting up some resistance now. Putting up resistance. Putting up the fight, fight. No one ever can understand it, the way the system planned. There's no hope, no chance, no loophole, no escape for a sufferer man. 'Cause every time I lift my head above water and try to save myself from drown, there's an overnight scheme